this is According to Callus. This is going to be, I guess, part 2 discussing the trifecta. Please join me as we retrospectively look back at the early 80s in Christian rock. All right, number 2 in the trifecta is Not of This World. Now, interestingly enough, on Wikipedia it says that the because it was so similar to its predecessor, more power to you, and Bob Hartman considered it to be the musical equivalent of a sequel. And hey, I'll listen to it, and I will tell you it is very similar, but a little different. They're pulling in the keyboards a little bit. And look, I'm not a music guy. To me, from the outside looking in, not having any idea what I'm listening to, it does sound very, very similar. But there are the keyboards where they really weren't in the earlier. That part I get, and I actually understood. Okay, so on this particular album, we have what is essentially 9 songs and 2 doxologies, if you will, that are referred to as visions, that bookend the entirety of the album. And it's a traditional music thing, and it was arranged by John Slick. And if you're curious who John Slick was, well, he was a member of the band, and if I'm not mistaken, he was their original keyboardist, and he did backing vocals as well. So this album had Not of This World, which, if you don't know what that means, you might want to go look it up. The Bema seat, or Bema seat, depending on who you're talking to. Very interesting. Grave Robber, super cool. Blinded Eyes. Now we're going to circle back to both of those. And then Not by Sight, Lift 'Em Up, Pied Piper, Occupy, and then God Pleaser. Now, the 2 of note on this one for me were Grave Robber and Blinded Eyes. Now, I got to tell you, much like the previous album, I really like all the songs on here. There's not a bad song on here. If I was going to find one that, oh man, I just don't feel like listening to this now, it's because I just wasn't in the mood for it. It's not because I don't like the song. Every song on both of these albums, very enjoyable to listen to. So now, Grave Robber, man, it's talking about, don't worry, he's going to come snatch you out of the grave. I mean, how can you not like that? It's, to me, the fact that, you know, we as Christians spend so much time worrying about dying, I never understood that. I mean, look, I don't want to die. I don't want to go away. And I've joked several times that I didn't kill myself. So it's with no irony lost on me. So I guess I will, I'll have a little fun here. I'm going to read the lyrics to this, and hopefully I'll have enough time that I can do the song that follows up, because I think it's even startling when you listen to that one. But here we go. The Grave Robber. There's a step that we take alone, or that we all take alone, an appointment we have with the great unknown. Like a vapor, this life is just waiting to pass. Like the flowers that fade, like the withering grass. But life seems so long, and death so complete, and the grave an impossible potion to cheat. But there's one who has been there and still lives to tell. There is one who has been through both heaven and hell. And the grave will come up empty-handed that day. Jesus will come and steal us away. Where is the sting? Tell me, where is the bite? When the grave robber comes like a thief in the night. Where is the victory? Where is the prize? When the grave robber comes and death finally dies. Now again, Grey Eggs Volt's killer vocals here. I won't even attempt to do. All right. Many still mourn, many still weep, for those that they love who have fallen asleep. But we have this hope, through our hearts may still ache, or though our hearts may still ache. Wow. Just one shout from above and they all will awake. And in the reunion of joy we will see death will be swallowed in sweet victory. And then of course it goes back to the refrain. And when the last enemy is done, from the dust will come a song. For those asleep will have been awakened. Not a one will be forsaken. He shall wipe away our tears. He will steal away our fears. There will be no sad tomorrow. There will be no pain and sorrow. I'm sorry. But if you can listen to that and not be moved, I better check yourself there. It's a wow type kind of song to me. And then the song that's directly after that is Blinded Eyes. I mean, and this is another song calling out people, right? The idea, well, there's a lot of this, I guess, predates some of the stuff we saw with like the religious right or the moral majority. Well, actually, it came out about the same time as the moral majority. But what's interesting is it's going right into it. It's laying out an argument that's all well and good, but what about this, and this? I mean, it's like a little mini sermon in 4 or 5 minutes. And when you're a teenage boy and you're thinking about everything other than the Son, other than your Lord and Savior, it's kind of like it brings you back. And it's in your head, and it doesn't go away. So here we go, Blinded Eyes. And again, really cool song. Vocals I could never help to match. Of course, when I'm in the car with my daughters, they'll tell you I try anyway. So here we go. Don't know where you're going, but you think you know the way. 20/20 vision, but you can't see the light of day. The road is wide or narrow, but you can't tell which is which. Blind will follow blind, and you'll both end up in a ditch. Can't you see? You can't see? Don't you know? You don't know? Blinded eyes can't see the light when it's glowing in the night right in front of you. Blinded eyes can't see the truth when it's written on the wall in plain view. Blinded eyes can't see the Son or the work that he has done out of love for you. Blinded eyes. Groping in the darkness, searching for the missing switch. Come up empty-handed, try to scratch that endless itch. There's only one light that can penetrate your mind. Just one look at Jesus and the scales, or you'll leave the scales behind. Can't you see? You can see. Don't you know? You could know. I mean, they're telling you, it's right there. The answer's right there. You just got to take the moment to look into it. And the reference of being written upon the wall, of course, I'm going to look the fool because I don't remember which book that's in, but it's referencing the fall. I'm sorry, the fall of Babylon. There's writing on the wall telling him, you're going away. The Persians are coming. And he didn't recognize it for what it was. Basically telling you how much more obvious does God have to make this stuff to you. And again, I mean, look, I'm no better than anybody else. I had to get hit upside the head a couple times to remember. I had to, figure out, if you will. Yeah, maybe... Yeah, that makes sense. I should pay attention to this. So track 9 and 10. 9 is called Occupy. Now, there's a lot of people right now that would get very up in arms and iffy about that one. Now, that one and Not by Sight are actually written by John Slick. And Occupy is very interesting. In the theological aspect of that, right? One of the reoccurring themes is I talk about how we have to be there. We have to make a presence. We have to stand. We have to hold our ground. That's talking about that. And I'm hearing that as, 15-year-old kid. Something that everyone. And then God pleaser. The refrain goes, I don't want to be a man pleaser. I want to be a God pleaser. And it talks about all the different things that are going on that lead people astray. In fact, the heck with it. I'm going to read the lyrics. I'm kind of at a loss because it's such a part of my life when I was young, and oh wow, they actually have a different way. And this one gives. Oh, I guess I was looking in the wrong lyrics location. Here we go. So, God pleasers based on Proverbs 14:12, Ephesians 6:6, Galatians 1:10, 1 Thessalonians 4:1, Matthew 6:2, 25 and 23, or 25:23, and Colossians 3:23. So there you go. And that was in every album. They lay out where they're getting their music inspiration from. I mean, if you're a pastor, you gotta give props to this. So here we go. So many voices telling me which way to go. So many choices come from those who think they know. There's a way that seems right to a man, but it only brings him death. I want to go the way that leads to life till I draw my dying death. Don't want to be a man pleaser. I want to be a God pleaser. Just want to have the wisdom to discern the two apart. I don't want to be a man pleaser. I want to be God pleaser. I just want to do the things that please the Father's heart. Some make a sacrifice and never let it show. Some make a point of letting everyone know. Some will live their lives as unto men, and they will have their reward. I just want to do everything that I do with all my heart unto the Lord. I just want my life to glorify His Son, to make my Father proud that I'm His child before I'm done. No need to pat me on the back or stop to shake my hand. I just want to hear my Father say, well done, well done. I just want to hear my Father say, well done. Oh, man. I'm going to have to remember wherever I found this at. AZ lyrics. Okay, so, I mean, just listen to that and picture yourself as a teenage kid and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I just hear here? I mean, think about it. Even today, as I'm middle-aged, man, I look at the idea, there's all 100% true. The difference between being 15 and 50 is 35 years of nothing. I hear and see all these same things every day. And the lyrics from a song over 35 years ago are a pretty darn good guidepost on what you're supposed to be doing. It kind of chokes me up a little bit because to just end it on, I just want to hear my Father say, well done. If you take the time to think and consider what that means, what's all involved with that? Man. Again, it was almost, excuse me here, I'm going to go into something that I'm not super familiar with, but it was almost like a catechism, right? My understanding is some of the Protestant sects and the Catholic Church use catechism to teach young people to understand certain things. We didn't really have that. I was at an independent church that was very unforgiving of anybody that was independent. And I learned these truths from rock music. I mean, come on. And again, it comes forward. I remember these things. It made me be able to stand when it mattered. It made me be able to stand when things were tough because I had this in the back of my head and it was playing even though I didn't even know it. And while I might have forgotten the individual scriptures that it was referencing, the principles were right there. And something scary to consider, and this is way off topic, but it's directly related. This music was in my head. It's been there for over 35 years, and I remember it. Now I want you to consider, when you go and say, well, it's okay, that music or that book that my child read, it's just, it's just something. They'll forget it when they're older. I'm here to tell you that ain't true. I'm here to tell you that, there's this controversy that's been going on about porn in schools or inappropriate books in schools. And there are some people that are rightfully upset. And then there's some people that are, twisting their bow tie or clutching their pearls over it. And it's not really about that. It's about government is providing at our cost subversive material to your children. I mean, that's a concern, but the other thing to consider is pretty much every parent has provided their child with a pocket computer that provides them with, let's say, less savory things every day, all day. Worse things than what they're going to find in that library. Which is the bigger fault? Which is the bigger problem? And to say, oh, well, don't worry, they're not going to remember, or it's not that important, or it's just some kind of passing fad. I'm here to tell you, it's not. It's not. It grips them, it holds them. Consider that. And again, that's why I'm bringing this up, is this trifecta of albums saved me from a lot of things that could have been really bad when I was a little older. And maybe I'm giving undue credit. Maybe I'm giving too much credit to Bob Hartman for nobody else to, say. But I believe the Lord provided that band with those men at that time for not just me, but thousands or millions of other people. And in spite of some of the things that we heard and said, or heard and were forced, if you will, from some of our parents or grandparents or our church leaders, it was less about we were getting saved in spite of, but because of. Now, there was a lot of charlatans. There was a lot of things that turned out to not be what they were. But honestly, nothing ever came out of this band that disqualifies or neuters their message. And this was a rock and roll band. Now I want you to look back and think about all those different people we've revered over our lifetime. Whether it was a pastor, whether it was a televangelist, whether it was, just a normal person. And you find out things that they've done or said or participated in, and you just go, ew, that's icky. And I mean, I would be guilty of that to some extent too. I'm sure I've done, said, and been places that, some people would wriggle their noses or be upset about. But I'm not ashamed of really anything that I've done by choice, that I've been involved with long term. I mean, people do make mistakes. People say, oh, well, maybe, no, this is not for me. That's part of life. That's part of learning. And if you pay attention to some of this music that I did, it may save you bigger headaches down the road. Hey, in any case, I've gone a little over. This was, according to Callus, this was part 2 of the trifecta. The Petra spective, if you will. Thank you, and I'll see you on the other side.